Hello. In church this week we looked at the passage of 1 Samuel 24 to 26. It tells the story of David hiding in the cave only to have Saul come and relieve himself, and then David cutting off his robe and then coming out of the cave and challenging Saul about why he's attacking him and why he's pursuing him. And at the end of that chapter we see Saul confessing that actually David was right, he shouldn't have done it. We then have 1 Samuel 25, which is the story of Nabal, Abigail and David, in which David's men goes to Nabal's shepherds and says, "Help us, can you give us some hospitality?" And Nabal replies in quite an insulting way, which causes David to want to go and attack the whole of his household. Abigail steps in with a gift and with a real plea to David to not take revenge, to ask forgiveness. And then the last chapter we looked at, David again is faced with Saul and how he responds to that, although we looked at it very briefly. And I focused on three things. Firstly, about what it's like to have the enemy at your gates. And I asked people to really think about these three principles. Firstly, wait on the Lord and wait for the Lord. Secondly, to deal with any disappointment and bitterness that you may have under this intense time. And thirdly, to be honest with the person that is hurting you. When we looked at 1 Samuel 25, I looked at the role of the peacemaker, and I had 5 things that a peacemaker can do. They remove the blame game, they ask for forgiveness, they acknowledge that people have a right for justice, but revenge is unnecessary. They understand people and they empathise with people. And then lastly, they remind people of God's promises. And then from the third passage, issue of, a point of realism, that just because you're obedient to God doesn't mean you have the outcome that you hope for. We can't guarantee what the outcome can be, but just a real encouragement to you that we can guarantee that God is faithful and that when we're obedient, we honour God, and that is good. At the end of the preach, I talked about small groups, and I thought it'd do something a bit different this week, rather than focusing on the passages that I talked about, to actually look at the New Testament and the Beatitudes. And I'd like you to look at 3 parts of the Beatitudes. Okay, Matthew 5, verses 1 to 12, Matthew 5, verses 38 to 48, and Matthew 7, verses 1 to 6. And I have 3 questions for you to think about. Firstly, what do these passages teach us about how to deal with conflict? Secondly, are they similar or different to the principles that we looked at in 1 Samuel 24 to 26? And then thirdly, a question really of sharing. Do you have times in your life that you've either been a peacemaker, or you've been under conflict, or you've had a situation where you've just had to be obedient and the outcome wasn't really what you hoped? To just share with how God helped you and used you in those times. So I hope you have a really good time, and take care. God bless. Bye.